This is the story of Siege and Cal, the greatest podcasters any universe has ever known. I am one half of that dynamic duo, the Siege, and I am joined by the other half of that dynamic duo, Cal.
Hello, I am the other half of that dynamic duo.
Welcome to episode 61 of the Lasercomb podcast. Wait, no, this is actually episode 62. I screwed that up. The
It's
last
okay.
episode.
That's like 60 more than most indie podcasts.
That's true. Um, yeah, this week on the Lasercomb podcast, we are continuing on with our block of episodes that I have called "Rip in Peace Teletoon." If you're just joining us, Teletoon is a Canadian channel, is centered around animation that launched in the mid 90s. And, well, it was announced recently that actually, that it was going to be rebranded as Cartoon Network Canada.
Yeah.
I think it's already happened at this point. I think it was happened on like March 23rd or something like that. If you want to see an entire group of angry Canadian millennials on Twitter lamenting about something, it's the thing of the moment was the demise of Teletoon.
Just look for the hashtag Teletoon.
Yeah, that's
And
actually how I found out because it showed up. It was like trending in Canada. Hashtag Teletoon, and I'm like, oh, why is Teletoon trending? And then it's just like, no,
no.
no, but why? I must tweet about this. Speaking of tweeting about things, I did the unthinkable,
No,
and I got myself a big old blue check mark.
you didn't.
I did. See, I actually used to be subscribed to Twitter Blue like back before the Elon days, and it had some useful features like
What
being
was
able to
Twitter Blue?
well, it was only like $3 a month, and you could it gave you the ability to like customize your app icon. You could choose a dark theme. You could edit tweets, things like that. And the new Twitter Blue is all of that, but it also gives you a blue check mark, and it costs three times as much. uh, I don't know. I
Well,
just
the thing is, it puts content creators that rely on that sort of thing in the position where they have to.
right.
Like actually have to, because it's like, oh, this is to combat bots. If it was just to combat bots, make it $1.
Yeah.
So fuck you. Like it's not just to combat bots, right? Or make it a one-time purchase,
It's
right?
because Elon
It's
spent
because
like
money.
it's because Elon spent a lot of money on Twitter.
Yeah, and so now he's going washing machine to washing machine, pulling out all the change,
Yeah.
pulling out the couch cushions, looking for lost pennies.
Right.
But yeah, because you all of your posts you don't show up in people's feed without it, like
Yeah.
at
That
all.
that's part of the reason why I bit the bullet and
You
decided
can't
to
reach an
subscribe.
audience. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to just increase my my Twitter profile and thus the shows that we do. I wanted to increase visibility.
Here's the thing, your followers don't even see your shit.
I know.
Like
Like like half of my Twitter feed is by people I don't even follow.
yeah, so I don't have very many followers on Twitter, and I also don't follow many others, and it's like weird just seeing. It'd be like going on Facebook and like scrolling down, and you're seeing like what's trending and pages you're not a part of, and like people you don't talk to, and it's like what? And so I don't know. It's a necessity, but if everybody like bailed on it, then money talks. If everyone bailed on it and went to boosted MySpace back up or something like that.
Well, the guy, I can't remember what his name was, but the guy who originally founded Twitter is launching a new Twitter-like service that's apparently like a more back to basics approach to Twitter, like very simple, like um and so I think that's in beta right now, and I signed up to be a part of it. Who
Oh,
knows
that's
if
cool.
Yeah, who knows if I actually get an invite, but hopefully. Anyway, Rip in Peace Teletoon. And this week we are talking about a show that I have fond memories of, a show that I've wanted to talk about for on a podcast for literally years at this point, and a show that is that I deeply associate with Teletoon because I watched it on Teletoon back in like 1997/98, and it's a little show called Captain Star.
This is the story of Captain Star, the greatest hero any world has ever known. Captain Star journeyed the universe in his ship, the Boiling Hell. His orders, to discover new worlds, name them after himself, and then sell them things. One day, the Boiling Hell arrived at the ragged edge of the universe, where Captain Star and his crew, Navigator Black, Atomic Engine Stoker Linz Jones, and First Officer Scarlet, waited for orders from Mission Control. And waited. And waited. And waited.
Boom.
Now I'm not even really gonna go into what Captain Star is about because the intro music that you just heard in this podcast for that's the theme song to Captain Star. I'm gonna insert it in editing later.
Editor.
Put that in. I don't need to explain what Captain Star is about because the opening theme song has a voiceover narration that tells you everything you need to know about this show. It's kind of great, actually.
Yeah. Tells you what you need to know. I like sci-fi intros that tell you what it's about.
I love the little bit that where it's like their mission to I can't even remember. It's like reach, explore new planets and reach new civilizations. Discover new planets, name them after themselves, and then sell them things.
Captain Star's mission: reach new planets, name them after himself, and sell them merchandise.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And so there's probably, well, presumably, there's a lot of planets out there called Planet Star, which would be confusing because planets orbit stars, but
those are that's a very contradictory name right there. Planet Star.
Oh, what's the next closest planet? Oh, that's Planet Star too. And if you go out, that gas giant out there is Planet Star, and all the moons around it are Planet Star. So right away, the logic like required to make the show work is very indicative of the humor of the show.
This show, I find this show extremely funny. I went back a couple of years ago and rewatched through the entirety of it, and I think it's only like 13 episodes or something like that. It only lasted one season. Or no, it lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah, it's a couple.
13 episodes in total, spread across 2 seasons. So I went back and rewatched through it, and the show holds up like beautifully for me. Now, what I am going to say is that the episode that we landed on, and I know we've heard this from patrons before, where they have said that, you just didn't land on the best episode. This is not the best episode of Captain Star, but it is one we're reviewing. Yeah, there are much better episodes. And it's not even that this is a bad episode.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's just kind of meh.
Yeah, it's Day of the Zooty. Basically,
Day of the Zooties, which originally aired in the UK on July 15th, 1997. Um, I said I strongly associate this show with Teletoon. This is actually a UK series. It is from the British network ITV, which is a free-to-air public broadcast network. But it aired in Canada on Teletoon. And by the looks of it, it did, based on some light research that I did, I don't think the show actually aired in the US. So this only aired in the UK and in Canada.
Yeah, and what it's very British in its humor.
It is, yeah.
Very obviously so. So either you like it or you don't.
Yep.
When I was young enough to catch this on TV, I wasn't old enough to find it interesting.
Yeah, because you're a couple of years younger than I am, right?
It was kind of boring to me, and the jokes like weren't really like jokes. But now watching it 20 whatever years later, I can appreciate it more.
Yeah. Yeah, I found it, I was 12 or 13 when I watched this show back in the day, and I appreciated the humor at the time. I appreciate it even more now as an adult.
Yeah.
This the episode that we landed on, as mentioned, was Day of the Zooties, and so the episode opens with
Captain Star taking a bath. Oh wait, that's a flashback.
It opens with a flashback of Captain Star taking a bath, and the atomic rocket ship Stoker, Limbs Jones, as he's known as, a hole gets pierced into the hull, and Jones is about to be sucked out into space. Captain Star leaps into action and uses the bath mat beside his bathtub to plug the hole. And then we cut back to the present day, and Captain Star is just oh, those were the days. Captain Star, by the way, is voiced by actor Richard E. Grant, who's a fairly famous British actor. Now, I'm wondering if I should get into this now or if I should wait until afterward. You know what? I'll save it till the end, because I have some ideas about what this show is their situation is. I find this situation that they're in very metaphorical.
Interesting.
Very symbolic of some stuff.
Okay.
But I'll get into it later.
Okay, so yeah, basically, you just said his name. The guy that almost got sucked out.
Jones.
He has some extra parts to him.
Yeah, it's from there's an episode where it explains how it happens.
See, I watched as a kid, but I can't remember now. I can't remember the episode that explained it.
I think it was radiation.
Something like that.
That made him grow the extra heads and extra arms. So he has 2 legs, he has 6 arms, and he has 9 heads. I like that it's an odd number of heads. I find that kind of funny.
And it's just a lot, not 2 or 3, but just
it's 9.
Yeah.
And they all talk to each other too.
They all talk to each other. Sometimes they're contradictory. Yeah. There's a part where he's they're oh yes, Captain, right away, Captain. No, Captain. And that's where the British humor shines, right? I find the writing because they have a limited slot, right? And probably limited budget and all of that. You and I talk about wasted page space for books, wasted airspace, that kind of thing. I don't feel like Captain Star does that.
No, not at all.
Every line, every single thing happening on the screen, even if it's silly, progresses the story.
And indeed, this show is very silly.
And it's silly, yeah.
So back in the present, Captain Star and Jones.
Oh, he likes to reminisce in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah. Captain Star, his thing is the beginning and the end of the episode usually has him sitting in a wheelbarrow, looking out at the stars. And
Yeah.
his thing is that he's waiting for orders from like Mission Command, and they've been on this planet for quite a while.
Yeah, and he sometimes he starts and ends it with like, "Oh, captain's log," but he's just talking to himself.
Yeah.
Like,
So a
he's
ship
not actually
show-
recording anything.
So no, he's writing in his diary.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. So a ship shows up, and Captain Star is like, "Ah, finally, my orders." And Scarlet, who is his first officer, she's called Scarlet because she has red hair.
Scarlet, first officer, also the science,
Yeah,
science head of science.
yeah, she's basically a Vulcan. She's the logical mind. And if it wasn't obvious, people, this show is a clear riff on Star Trek.
Well, she even wears like a Klingon war band
In
Like
bed, hilariously enough,
She's a
gets
different one in bed. She's got like her
Yeah.
bed uniform and her out of bed uniform, which I find funny.
Yeah, there's a scene later on in the episode where she gets woken up by the main threat of this episode.
The Zooty?
And the Zooties, yeah. When she wakes up, she's wearing her pajamas, but she still has like a Klingon like sash on.
That's hilarious.
So Captain Star thinks that it's his orders. Scarlet is like, "Oh, well, what if it's an alien invasion?" And he's just like, "Nonsense." I can't remember if is it Jones or Black. One of them he tells.
Black is like, "Oh, I'll rather miss this planet."
He tells either Jones or Black to like fetch him his like
Jones.
captain's hat. Yeah, Jones.
It's
To-
Jones for everything.
to fetch him his captain's hat
Oh, right away,
And-
sir.
and his captain's badge and his captain's sunglasses.
Which he puts on Star for him.
Yeah. There's a shot where it's a it's going to be the episode art for this episode.
There's a
of the
star with
podcast.
him. There's a shot with him like standing valiantly, like wearing this hat and with his sunglasses, like staring outwards.
with like his hand to like the side of his shades. It's like
Anyone watching on YouTube can see. I've got it as the, the
I-
background there.
I watched this at work today on my break on YouTube, and by the way, people, the entire series is on YouTube freely
Yeah.
if you want to watch it, and I highly recommend it. But I burst out into laughter just this shot of Captain Star in these like aviator shades with this like dorky like captain's hat on, just like looking off.
Look, awaiting a flying saucer, mind you. And Scarlet says, "What if it's not command? What if it's hostile alien forces?" And he's like, "Well, either way, it'll be interesting."
Yeah.
And-
And it turns out that it's a vacuum cleaner salesman, basically.
That's what got me. That's one of the first things that like got me. And it was like, imagine interstellar travel, the resources and time that it takes. And this guy stops on this like barren ass like tiny planet to like sell people that are
Vacuums.
also interstellar travelers a vacuum.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they humor him.
Yeah. They listen to his sales pitch, and they
Bring
go
him
to-
into the restaurant, which is Mr. Black's has like a restaurant set up on the planet.
Yeah, Navigator Black has a restaurant set up on the planet, and there's fish tanks everywhere. Navigator Black's thing is he loves fish. Also,
Like,
weirdly enough, but
It's a
like
big thing.
it is a big thing, and it comes up later in the episode. But weirdly enough, like you'd think someone who loves fish that much wouldn't eat fish, but that's all he serves. The other crew members is just fish. I know this because I've seen other episodes of the show. It's all he serves is just fish. Just various different fish-based dishes.
Well, he loves eating fish, and then his love of fish came from that.
Maybe the fish tanks are basically like fish that he's like breeding for them to like eat.
From a sci-fi standpoint, that probably makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let's go with that.
Like Matt Damon on there with his like on
Potatoes,
with
yeah.
his shit potatoes
Yeah.
up on Mars.
Hey, those potatoes got to get their like nitrogen and carbon from somewhere.
Yep. So they so the salesman is trying to like sell them on this vacuum, and they don't really need a vacuum because they don't have carpet. And the reason why they don't have carpet is because Captain Star like weirdly like hates carpet. He finds it
And
like really unhygienic and
and in
gross.
the flashback at the beginning of the episode, when they come back to it and Star is in his wheelbarrow and Jones is beside him, Jones is like, "We never did replace that bath mat." And Star is like, "That's because it's incredibly unhygienic." And
Yep.
indeed, he says, "We eventually he snaps because the salesman keeps going on, and he's like, "I hate carpet."
Yep.
And this is another one that got me. Everybody gasps as if he just said like, "I hate children," or I like he said something like absolutely like shocking.
Yeah.
And yeah, he explains that they're like dust magnets. They're dirty. They're like hard to clean. And here is where I'm going to agree with him because I have dust allergies.
Yeah, so do I.
So I don't and can't have like carpet anywhere.
I
And
actually
even vacuuming carpet like often pulls all the particles up into the air as you're
yeah.
going. And it's
Yeah, every time I vacuum, I'm always in like a big like sneezing fit afterward for like a good hour or so.
so I'm like, yeah, fuck carpet.
So this is like I think like the C plot of the episode is Captain Star's like hate on for it's the recurring joke.
And the reason carpet's even brought up is because it's like, oh, well, when you buy the Suck Master 10,000 or whatever the heck the sci-fi vacuum is called, which conveniently folds up into a briefcase, it comes with a lifetime supply of carpet.
Yeah.
And we'll
Self-laying
find out
carpet.
why that, yeah, self-laying carpet. And we'll find out why the company can afford such an expense shortly.
So he tosses down a square of this self-laying carpet and immediately just spreads everywhere in the restaurant. And he's like, okay,
It goes under things, like it goes under your feet, under the tables, and it goes out to the edges of the room.
yeah,
Seems cool, right?
yeah. And he's like, and now I'm gonna like show you just how well this like Suckmaster 9000 works because like we're gonna really like destroy this carpet here. And he throws like a big like thing of dirt on
So
it.
it's like a bag of chips and like steps on it, and he's like, "We're gonna really go to town." on this."
Yeah, and like it creates like such a big like dust cloud, like all of the crew of the Boiling Hell. By the way, the name of the space rocket
Oh,
is the Boiling Hell.
yeah.
The entire crew of the Boiling Hell all start coughing.
All start coughing, and then it's like, oh, it has a space mode or something, and he turns it on and it starts sucking up like the furniture and the fish.
And everything else, and they're like, "For God's sake, man, make it stop!" And he's
My
like, "Nope."
fish, my
He's
fish.
he's like, "Nope, not until you buy it. Not until you buy one." Uh,
And Scarlet goes up behind him, and I thought she was gonna Vulcan nerve pinch him
yeah.
or like karate chop, but she just rips his head off.
And it turns out he's a robot, and she's like, "Just as I thought. This is a salesman bot, or something like that."
Yeah.
And she opens his head up, and she's like, "Oh, and here's his brain. It's like a little like marble." And she
It's a
pulls
little
it out,
marble
and she's like,
being held
"I'm gonna
by two strings.
I'm gonna keep this. I might need this later." Like she actually even is says something akin to, "Oh, I might need this later."
Yep.
Uh,
And that's that. He stops moving and problem solved.
Yeah, and so Captain Star orders Jones to roll up the carpet and have it destroyed. He's like, get all of it out of here.
And as you watch the show, you start to realize there are landmarks on the, instead of all living in the ship, there's different buildings and landmarks. And
Yeah,
like
they've
one
said
of them is the incinerator.
Yeah, they've set up shop on this
Yeah.
planet.
There's the restaurant. I think Scarlet has her own little underground
She had
room,
she has like a hut or something.
but it goes underground because it looks like an elevator. I don't know. They've got they set up shop, like Siege
Yeah.
said. And Jones is about to toss it.
Yeah, and he goes to the incinerator and fuck, what is it? It always says something.
The incinerator says,
I'm the jolly burner or something like that.
what does
I
it
think
say? One sec, folks. I'm right at the
pretty
it
sure
coughs.
yeah.
I am the jolly burner.
Yeah, the jolly burner. Yeah.
But it coughs up a square of the green stuff.
Yeah.
And then it talks. It's lime green, by the way. It's ghastly. And it says,
Slime green, they
"I-"
call it in the
slime
episode.
green.
Yeah.
And it immediately talks, and it's kind of like 2 or 3 voices overlapping.
Yeah.
Like that eerie, like, other worldly. And it says, I can be your bath mat.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, we need a new bath mat. And it's got a little picture of a rocket ship on it.
Yeah.
For some reason. We don't see it make shapes on itself ever again.
Yeah.
So whatever.
And so it like spreads out, and then immediately like Captain Star gets mad and he chastises Jones. He's like, Jones, I told you to get rid of this vile carpet.
Yeah, like seemingly not realizing. It's funny because the characters come to this realization at vastly different parts throughout the episode.
Right.
Right? That it's like a what's it called? Like a sapience? Yeah.
Sentient.
Sentient. It's a sentient being, like aware of its
A series of sentient beings, like millions of them.
Right. It's actually like a colony. Right.
Yeah.
Because as Scarlet says, oh, getting rid of it won't be so easy, Captain. She's like, see these fibers? Each little whisk is actually its own like sentient like creature.
And
Star's like, nonsense, Scarlet. What are you talking about?
And their reproductive behavior is much similar to ours. And she puts 2 of them together in like this little like glass like box.
But the thing is, I don't know why she has this science. So what this is, it reminds me of those doll houses that open up on one side.
It's like a little bedroom.
It's a little with models and like miniatures. It's a little bedroom. And indeed, the 2 fibers.
One of them puts music on, which I found hilarious.
One lies down, one's like turns off the lamp and puts music on, like a little record, and then goes over to the little window that Star and Scarlet are staring at, and it like shakes a little fist at them.
And it's
then closes.
And they actually say, do you mind?
Oh, right. They speak, right?
And so they close the curtain, and then immediately the curtain just turns into more of this carpet.
And then
that is a funny sight gag to me.
Yeah. And then Star opens it up and goes, my God, because everything inside is just covered in this layer, like immediately.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't anything leading up to that. It wasn't it talking to him. It was he pulls the curtains up.
So jumping back a bit, Captain Star is all pissed off at Jones because he told him to destroy the carpet, and the carpet's back, and he's like, Jones, do it again, and this time do it properly. And this time when Jones takes the carpet to the...
So he does, though. He rolls it up.
Yeah, when he takes it to the incinerator again for the second time, it starts talking to him, and is like, oh, we could be the carpet for your room. It's your room. The captain doesn't need to know. It's your room. He doesn't need to go in there. If you let me live, we can stay just in your room. And you could shampoo us. Shampoo. The amount of times shampoo is said in this episode
Hundreds.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, the captain won't see you if you're in my room. And he's persuaded. And right away, when he brings him back,
It
it starts
immediately
spreading
just
out,
spreads
right?
out again.
Yeah.
And
And it
I think
lied.
I think Jones says something akin to like, "Gee, I guess you can't trust a self-laying carpet."
Can never trust a carpet. But yeah, when he lays it down, it's like much appreciated. And his eyes are like blank. And he's like, no problem.
Yeah,
So it's hinting that
it has
it has
some
some
sort of weird.
hypnotic effect on people.
Yeah, it has some sort of weird like mind control power.
When it takes over the factory, or his room rather, yeah, he lives in like his own little house.
Yeah,
Um, it completely takes over, and it grows over top of Jones. And there's a
yeah.
little scene where he's like inchworming around underneath. I don't know. I thought that was cute.
He even ends up crawling up onto the wall at one point,
Crawling
underneath
up
all
onto the wall
this
to get out
carpet.
of the window. And he realizes, much like tendrils of like slime or mold or like whatever, it's split off and has begun going elsewhere across the planet. And he's like, "Oh, you've done it this time, Jones."
The captain's going to be real angry. Yes, he is. He's going to be mad. He's going to be very angry with us. I think he'll like it.
I think you'll like it.
I was just ad-libbing that. He doesn't actually say that.
But it's on point, right?
Yeah.
It seems like his intelligence has been split up among the 9 heads, resulting in any one train of thought not being too bright.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I find humorous is they're in the restaurant, right? Like drinking margaritas or whatever, and it takes over.
Right.
And this time it's not pretending.
Yeah.
It just grows over everything. And instead of when it covers Scarlet and Star, instead of him being like, ah, or like whatever, he's like, ah, Jones.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, any of you could have helped him destroy the.
Maybe have your science person like figure out a way to like actually like neutralize this thing.
And indeed, they get on that like
Yeah,
immediately.
They do get on that, and hilariously enough, what Scarlet realizes is, Captain, the every piece of carpet has a label on it that shows care instructions. We could just
Right.
look at the label and do the opposite. And he's like, "Yes, exactly."
Now, where's Jones? Tell him to. Oh, he seems to be like unrespondent. And they look outside, and he's using a carpet cleaner,
Yeah.
and he's like shampoo. Or was that the
Shampoo.
carpet? Maybe it's the carpet that was like shampoo, shampoo, and he's
I
just like walking across the planet, shampooing the ground.
Yeah, in a daze. And so Captain Star like jumps on this like and at this point like
It gets black
the
by imitating. Part
well
of it breaks off. Go ahead.
well at this point it has pretty much engulfed like most of the planet, and they have taken refuge in the bridge of the boiling hell, and Scarlet mentions that it's like, I don't know, for some reason it can't get in to the bridge, but it still does anyway,
And
because
it gets in with just a little chunk shaped like a fish.
that changes its form and makes it look like a fish to like kind of lull Black, because as mentioned he loves fish, into exiting the bridge so it can mind control him as well and get him to shampoo us.
And when they're at
Shampoo
mid
us.
conversation, they turn around and they go, "All right, Black and I will go and look for this. You find a way to destroy it, while Black and I will go and look for
The care label.
the care late Black." And then they immediately just look outside, and
Yeah.
he's out there shampooing the carpet too. I liked that. That he's just there 1 minute and then outside the next.
Yeah. And so Captain Star like hops on this like hover car, like this like hover scooter thing. And she's like Scarlet says like, be careful, Captain. It may it has powerful mind control abilities. And he's just like, nonsense, Scarlet. I think I can handle I am a rocket ship captain. I think I can handle a carpet.
I think I can handle a carpet. Yeah, I you know what? He sells it for me. He's not that stereotypical like, that's right, Kiff. Like, where's my dry cleaning? Like idiot while everyone else is more capable. He's actually quite capable. He's still like the cocky blah blah blah. Like he still has like the cockiness that's often associated with that trope, but like the drive is like there, and he's not stupid, and that's nice.
No, he's not actually. He isn't dumb at all. He's very full of himself, but also there's a recurring gag throughout the episode where he keeps saying I am a rocket ship captain. I do not concern myself with carpets.
Including when the carpet tries to stop him at one point and lull him to it's serving it.
Yeah.
And he yells back at it because the carpet makes the shape of a giant head.
Yeah.
Like, please shampoo us. It'll be fun. And he's like, I am a rocket ship captain. I do not concern myself with carpets.
I do not shampoo carpets.
And it's funny, despite the crisis, there's a scene where it just shows the two left, Scarlet and the captain, in the fish eatery.
Yeah.
And he's standing there waiting for food, but he knows Black is outside.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, I'm getting hungry. Go ahead.
Before we get to this, so because there's something about this that I find hysterical. So Captain Star jumps on his like hover moped and like flies to like the edge of the carpet, attaches a like hook and a chain to it, and then flies back the other way to lift the carpet up so he can look at its label to see what the care instructions are. And so he goes back to Scarlet, and Scarlet postulates that like that it must need because of the underpad, it can't draw nourishment from the soil. Therefore, that's why everyone needs to be shampooing it. This is our first theory. And he's like, brilliant, Scarlet. All right, let us have lunch and then we'll deal with this, or something.
Or something like that.
Something
it's just
like
funny that there's a crisis, but they're like, great, let us have lunch.
Yeah. And then we'll deal with this.
And they go to lunch, and she's standing at his side, not sitting. I don't, that's just her character, right? With her like hands clasped behind her back. And Captain Star is sitting at one of the tables that's been overgrown with the carpet. And he's standing there with an empty plate and like a fork in one hand and a knife in the other, just waiting. And it cuts. And he's like, he's standing there like expectantly. And Scarlet like looks outside with binoculars, and she's all like, I don't think lunch is coming, Captain. And he's like, Scarlet, you can cook, right? She's like, no. Anyways, I think that we need to like just very no. And so it's funny. And he's like, damn it, and gives up as if none of them can like bring themselves to cook. And he's like, that's it. I'm calling the manufacturer. And I don't know why. I just thought that like, oh, you can cook, right? And she's just like, no. Like she's not necessarily saying she can't cook, but as much as saying she's not cooking for him.
Right.
I don't know. I found that one of the few times I had a smirk and a sharp exhale from my nose. The show will do that to you. So what ends up happening? It ends up taking over Scarlet too.
Well, before that though, she takes the like little like marble brain of the sales bot and like hilariously like connects it to like a CRT television, and it just starts showing infomercials of this guy, like talking about this stupid vacuum. But then also like you find out in this infomercial that they're watching that this was a military experiment. This self-growing carpet was a military experiment that basically went awry, and so they need to be shampooed because like the pores
Of the entity.
the pores if the pores of this of these zooties, because they I think she said they were made by like the Zoot Corporation or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. The pores of the zooties, if they get blocked, then these things die. And
that's why it needs to be shampooed regularly.
So they're like, well, what can we do? Like, just not like, how can we speed this up? We cannot shampoo them, but like, how can we make this go faster? And Captain Star is like, oh, we just need to like make things really need to make it like really dirty, like really fast. And it's like, well, how do we do that? And he's like, of course, the Jolly Burner. The like something about it he says hasn't been cleaned in years. We just need to like spread that all around. And the way that they go about this is they take the marble brain and throw it into the Jolly Burner, and for some reason that turns it into a like
a giant
ash spewing mech.
But it has the personality of the sales program robot.
Yeah. So that,
and he's piloting it remotely with
levers,
with levers that like attach to his fingers. I
don't think I think he's inside of it. I don't think he's piloting.
Oh, is that it?
Because he ends up like jumping out of it at one point.
Right.
So this plan goes awry because it has the personality of the sales bot, and so after like all of this like carpet is being like dirt is being made like extremely messy because this thing is like spewing out like years and years worth
exactly
of ash.
But then it wants to vacuum it.
But then it wants to vacuum and shampoo it, and so it grabs like two like giant versions of these, which I think is hilarious that it just happens to have these giant like mech size versions of these vacuums that it was trying to sell, and it starts like
why they're there. Don't worry about it.
And it starts like shampooing up all of the mess it made, and the carpet is just like, all hail the shampoo lord or something like that.
Yeah. And he's like, blast it. I have to reach. Of course. And there's a giant on-off switch on the back of the burner mech.
Yeah.
Like actually like giant. And there's a convenient ladder at the base of it too. And he jumps dynamically and climbs the ladder. But
the vacuum sucks him in.
The vacuum, the robot points the vacuum and it goes to suck him in. And it does.
He gets sucked into it, and he uses a knife to like cut himself out of it, and when he does, he notices the dirt is just spewing back onto the carpet, and he's like, of course. He has another eureka moment, and so he cuts a big ass hole in the other vacuum too, because this thing is dual wielding these giant vacuums. Cuts a hole in the other one, and that ends up working finally.
And what ends up happening is all of the carpet starts receding. They turn into squares, like books or like sample squares.
Yeah.
But then they turn into like a book flapping, and they fly away. And they said, "We'll be back."
And then the robot just like kind of like croaks
malfunctions out. And breaks. Yeah.
And then the epilogue scene of the episode is Captain Star sitting in his wheelbarrow, looking up at the moon, and he's like, Captain's diary. An uneventful day. A vacuum cleaner salesman came by. And then he left.
And then he left. And boom, immediately cuts out. And I'm like, wow, Jesus. I think Jones had repaired the early
Yet
at some point. Jones had repaired the vacuum cleaner salesman. And Star asks, "Oh, like what did you reprogram him for?"
I forgot
And he's
about
like,
this. Yeah.
"I reprogrammed him to sell Captain Star merchandise." And he holds up like pillow and
Finally, he'll be doing some good in the universe. I forgot.
That's
about
when
that.
I laughed about that. And he just leaves in his UFO, his
Yep.
flying saucer. But yeah, the end part where he's like, "Captain's log. We were visited by a vacuum salesman today." And then he left. There's kind of like a bleakness to that.
Well,
And indeed, I think he wanted to talk about
I remember
theme.
a bunch of themes. I remember a couple of years ago, I was originally going to do a podcast reviewing this entire series with someone whose name I'm not going to mention, but and they had said it didn't work out, but I had mentioned to them that I had just finished watching through the entire series, and they were like, "Oh yeah, yeah, so did I." There's not really a lot to it, huh? And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I'm like, "This show is satirized, like, is a pretty like biting satire on themes of like commercialism and colonialism. Like, there's a lot going on in this series." And indeed, in this episode, I think, and maybe I'm just reaching here, I think this whole situation that they're in, one, um them becoming like like them becoming like compelled to like get this carpet and becoming like zombies and like slaves to like literally like slaves to like shampooing and maintaining it, I think is a kind of a statement on like our over reliance on material possessions. you you don't like the line in Fight Club, the things you own end up owning you.
Yeah, to a more broad extent, yeah, that consumerism, right?
Yeah.
To have like nicer things than like other people, and then you have to take care of them, and it's like, you know how many hundreds of hours I've spent washing my car? It's hundreds of hours less than if it was like a Porsche.
Yeah.
Right. And then like when you have like a nice thing, like you want to show it off and you need to like take care of it and blah blah blah. And like you said, the more like shit you own, the more the shit owns you.
And
Yeah, obviously it's just a silly show, but underlying that are
no,
like
there are a
very
lot of
apparent themes.
there are a lot of strong themes going on in this show. And honestly, and the thing that I was going to touch on, even beyond that, is the episode opens with them like being nostalgic for like the good old days, and then
But the memory was shit. The
the
memory
memory
was of an
was,
emergency.
yeah, and they spend a lot of their time on this planet doing like very mundane things, like just like expecting like something, just waiting to like essentially be relevant again. I think one of the big themes of this show is, I think it's kind of a metaphor for kind of retirement, basically being put into like putting into like a retirement home.
I'd say even more broadly, just getting older.
Yeah, they're
Nothing new
they're
is
this crew
happening.
this crew is like kind of like put out to pasture, and they're Captain Star in particular is like desperate for some to essentially like have more glory, like relive his glory days and like be relevant again.
Yeah, and he is capable, and he's just wait. For me, it's that waiting. It's waiting for something exciting to happen. They're not out finding it. They're waiting. And a
Yeah.
lot of people like, oh man, oh I wish I was a better like artist, or oh man, I wish I like did voice acting or whatever. And it's like, well, how many hours have you spent pursuing that?
Right.
Like, you don't just go, huh, and like pick up a pen one day and like touch it to paper and you're like, by God, I'm an artist. Like, no, man, you got to work, right? And I have existential dread about, man, I haven't even done this. Man, I'm like 35 and I haven't even done this, or I haven't gone to like Japan and blah, blah, blah. And it's, haven't went to Europe yet. And, like never learned to play this instrument I like started, and like it's not going to happen unless you make it happen. And that existential dread of waiting for something to happen when you can easily, like, they can just fly off away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And getting older and the days blurring together, and they're not better than they were yesterday or the day before, and they don't see anything new, and everything's humdrum to them, even if it is exciting at times, is underlying that. There's an underlying all of that. There's that like melancholic, like kind of existential dread.
Yeah.
Which is contrasting to the silliness of the show. For me, anyway.
Which I feel like is a very British thing.
Yes. The melancholy of like getting, just melancholy in general, right? Is a very like British thing. It's just like, hey, oh, well, life sucks and then you die, but at least you get some chippies before then. Like, that's the humor.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're growing old, well, not much can be done about it. I say I might be dead tomorrow, but
stiff upper lip.
Well, I think I'm I think I might grab myself a packet of crisps. In the meantime.
Well, we might as well enjoy the telly. Right? And I don't know.
So me and you have different takes, but I think both are valid, and I definitely see where you're coming from. It just reinforces like what I was saying, that like there's a lot going on in this series.
Well, even episode, there are even themes in each of the scenes or the jokes. For instance, when those two are here's a theme that's probably in many episodes. They make Star makes Jones do everything.
Yeah.
And then blames Jones when it goes wrong. But all he has to do is help. Right? Like there's another ongoing like theme, right? Like expectations of others.
Right.
Another one is like when they're sitting in the restaurant this episode and he's just like waiting for food, even though he fucking knows the only person that works here is Mr. Black and he's outside. And then he's like, oh, damn it, Scarlett, can you cook? No. Like just the idea that, he's reliant on other people. Right.
And like the disconnect where he's not really even
the disconnect.
Consciously aware of that.
Consciously aware, as if like we take, again, maybe far reaching, but just taking the service industry.
Yeah.
People working those jobs you don't want to do, garbage men, servers, cooks, whatever, right? For granted.
Yeah. It's right. Like if you go to a store and you're such a spectacular asshole to everyone in the store, to the point that, and this wouldn't happen realistically, but to the point that everyone decides, fuck it, we're just leaving. Suddenly that store isn't there anymore. And you're just like, well, where are all the workers? Like
that's kind of happened.
That's a thing that's actually been happening.
Yeah, like the middle class people complaining. Little economic rant, but it's relevant. Middle class people complaining that the restaurant hours or some days are just closed, and there'll be a sign up being like, "Oh, staff shortage," like sorry, or like whatever, and being like, "Oh, young people don't want to work anymore." Meanwhile, they're the same old people that have a basement suite that they're renting out, just changed the rent from 1,300 to 2,900, or sorry, 1,300 to 1,900
Yeah.
in like less than a year.
Yeah. Just
Where-
because
where all
everyone
the-
else is doing it.
So you want, oh, it's supply and demand. Oh, I don't control how the market is. And it's like, it's not restaurant people that are that are going to be renting from you.
I last summer when I was looking for a place, I quite literally had a place. It was like a basement suite for like $1,000 a month. It was like a one bedroom for $1,000 a month. I'd set up a viewing to go see it, and the guy texts me back like the next day, and he's like, due to current market conditions, I actually had decided that I need to increase my asking price, so the place is now going to be 1,600 a month
Instead of
1,000. This guy quite literally just looked at other like listings and was like, oh, other people are charging like 14, 15, 1,600 a month for a one bedroom basement suites. Well, I can't charge 1,000 now. Why would I?
or indeed, right? He probably had people applying and being like, "Hey, I will give you like 1,500 for this right now if you like take me." So what ends up happening, and I thought this was like a rumor, people are replying to ads and like with, "Hey, we see your place listed for 1,650. We'll get you 1,750 because it's so hard." It's not like before where you spent like a week or two kind of like looking at different places and seeing places and doing applications. It's so desperate that people are like bidding, like overbidding
Right.
for places now, for rentals. That's insane, man.
Yeah.
And you know what else is insane? Not liking Captain Star. Here,
So
go ahead.
so Cal, you just caught a random episode of Captain Star. Would you tune in next week?
Absolutely. In
Sweet.
fact, I'll probably watch these. They're short, right? Like 20 minutes.
Yeah, like
I'll,
22
I'll
minutes.
probably
They're all
watch these because it'll be like watching something new. Because like when I was like 10, I didn't
yeah.
appreciate any of the jokes or understand them or even get the humor. I just wanted to see like more cartoons that were like actiony. And then I'm like, oh, this wasn't for like young kids.
No, this definitely isn't for young kids.
Yeah.
There's nothing like inappropriate about
No.
it. Like a little kid could watch this, but like they would be bored by it.
Yeah, exactly. How about yourself, Sage?
Absolutely. I love
Nice.
this show. Yeah, as I mentioned previously in the episode, I rewatched through the entire series a couple of years ago. I ended up like ripping all of the episodes from YouTube and putting them on a
Nice.
flash drive. So
Just cause.
yeah, just to have them, you know. 'Cause I
Nice.
couldn't find a torrent of it or anything anywhere, and it's not available for purchase digitally. This is like
The thing about YouTube, I get that, because the thing about YouTube is we could like check next week and it would just all be striked away.
yes, someone who like realizes they own the copyright through some like acquisition they made like 10 years ago is just like, oh, be gone, YouTube.
Yeah, even though this wouldn't affect my
I'm not going to put this available for purchase on any digital marketplace, but I don't want some random YouTube user making ad revenue off of this.
not
No.
even.
uh
Oh, maybe it has ads. Yeah.
there were definitely ads while I was watching it.
Let's see how many views. Oh yeah, I wouldn't want him getting like, $4.50 off of having this up over the course of 5 years.
Right. Stuff like that does happen though.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was episode 62 of the Lasercomb podcast. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. We're at the single $5 Gary tier. You get a whole bunch of exclusive content, including the Super Lasercomb Patreon Super Show, which we haven't recorded one of those in a while, but we'll do one next week.
Yeah.
Follow me on Twitter at Lasercomb, spelled the same way. Cal, you are at?
I am at NeoCal on Twitter and TikTok. NEO_KAL.
We'll be back in a few days here, continuing on with our Rip in Peace Teletoon block of programming, where we're going to be talking about a show called Cyber 6.
Oh, yes. With a special mystery guest, even.
Yeah, and we have a guest host scheduled for that episode. Someone who, when we first launched this podcast, like 2.5 years ago, I think it was, or no, I don't know. We launched it in 2021 at some point. This person had said, "Hey, if you ever do an episode dedicated to Cyber 6, I want to be on it."
Specifically, this exact show.
Yeah, and so the Cyber 6 was a Teletoon original, I believe, so this seemed like a good time to do it, and I reached out to them and was like, "Hey, do you want to be on the show?" And they're like, "Yeah." So I'm like, "Hey, cool." So we'll be back soon with that. And to find out what episode we're watching, I'm gonna go to the old trusty random number generator. Cyber 6 only had 13 episodes, much like Captain Star. So one random number between 1 and 13. It
feels like it had more.
Full disclosure, I never watched the show. So
I'm so excited to see.
This will be a new thing for me. And we landed on episode 11, which is episode 11 is the greatest show in Meridiana. Yeah. Huh. Okay.
Meridinia.
No, it's not Meridinia. It's literally spelled Meridiana. Meridiana. There we go. Meridiana. The greatest show in Meridiana.
We'd figure it out.
Yeah.
What episode was that?
Episode 11.
Ooh.
And well, we'll be back soon with that. And until then, I've been The Siege, one of your hosts.
And I am your favorite space elf, NeoCal.
Thanks for listening. We will await our orders next week.
It's hard to do this the other way around. Oh. I failed. Bye-bye. Have a good night.